From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Sunday joined the nation in observance of Isra wal Miraj, hoping that the significant Islamic event would inspire the Muslim faithful the value of perseverance through hardship and grief. The event marks the night journey and ascension of the Prophet Muhammad and is a time of deep spiritual reflection for the Muslim community. In his message posted on social media, the President said that success is the reward of diligence and amity, and that sacrifice, persistence, and faith can be a guide towards realizing shared purpose in building a peaceful and progressive nation for all. President Marcos also said the event symbolizes the steadfast devotion and spiritual resilience of Muslims in honoring Allah, the all-hearing and all-seeing. Al-Isra wal Miraj is one of the most revered events in Islam, symbolizing the miraculous journey of the Prophet Muhammad to the heavens. It is believed to be a test of faith and a personal gift from Allah to the Prophet, representing his steadfast devotion and spiritual resilience. During this event, the Prophet Muhammad is said to have received divine revelations, a moment considered one of the greatest signs and miracles after the Quran itself.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Malacañang on Sunday clarified that Monday, January 27th, is not a national holiday but only a Muslim holiday in observance of Isra wal Miraj, the night journey and ascension of the Prophet Muhammad. In a statement, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said, "The holiday covers only the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM and other Muslim areas defined in the Muslim Code. However, for Muslims working in areas where the holiday is not recognized, such as the National Capital Region or NCR, Bersamin clarified that they would be excused from work." Al-Isra wal Miraj is one of the most revered events in Islam, symbolizing the miraculous journey of the Prophet Muhammad to the heavens.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA Undersecretary Eduardo De Vega on Sunday confirmed that 24 undocumented Filipinos in the United States have been deported due to illegal activities. Earlier, Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez, said that the 24 Filipinos were deported by the U.S. government, not very serious crimes, but were involved in some criminal activity. The ambassador said several of the undocumented Filipinos have sought the assistance of the Philippine Embassy and consulates, while the rest have decided to return to the Philippines voluntarily to avoid being arrested and detained and eventually deported under U.S. President Donald Trump's mass deportation policy. Ambassador Romualdez hopes that Filipino immigrants who are already working and paying taxes in the U.S. would get their legal status, especially if their employers will sponsor them. De Vega, meanwhile, advised undocumented and overstaying Filipinos in the U.S. to keep a low profile and start working on their documents to legalize their stay as the Trump administration tightens immigration policies. The Undersecretary pointed out that Trump might consider productive overstaying aliens to be totally legalized, so as long as these illegal aliens don't fall under the categories of illegal immigrants that they target to deport, namely criminals and terrorists. Nevertheless, De Vega reiterated that the Philippine government is ready to respond should this planned mass deportation impact Filipinos. Government interventions such as the DFA's Assistance to Nationals Fund and the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW's Action Fund is readily available, De Vega added, which can be used as legal, medical, financial, and other forms of assistance for overseas Filipino workers or OFWs like repatriation and intervention to protect the rights of nationals.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA over the weekend clarified that no decision has been on the proposed deployment ban of Filipino workers to Kuwait. Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Eduardo Jose de Vega made the statement following reports in Kuwaiti dailies that Manila had already implemented the ban. During a news forum in Quezon City, De Vega said the DFA and the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW are continuously discussing the issue. On the part of the DFA, De Vega said they don't want a temporary ping-pong solution where a ban will be implemented only to be reinstated soon after. Senate Committee on Migrant Workers Chairperson Senator Rafi Tulfo earlier called for the deployment ban on new Filipino household service workers in Kuwait following the deaths of Filipino domestic workers, including Daphne Nakalaban, whose body was found buried in the gardener's yard of her employer's home in Saad al-Abdullah, Jara. Nakalaban had worked in Kuwait since December of 2019. In October 2024, her second employer reported her missing. Tulfo said a ban must be imposed until the Philippine government manages to coordinate and sit down with Kuwaiti officials to discuss additional requirements for foreign employers before hiring Filipinos. The senator said these must include, among others, evaluation of mental functions through a neuropsychiatric exam, on top of submission of police clearance and proof of financial capacity to pay workers.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. over the weekend has appointed an election lawyer who was part of his legal team during the 2022 presidential elections to the Philippine Information Agency or PIA. According to the list of new appointees posted on the Presidential Communications Office or PCO's official Facebook page, lawyer Alan Vincent Lorenzo was named PIA Deputy Director General. The PIA, an attached agency of the PCO, is the state's public relations firm for specific communication campaigns. Lorenzo is a senior partner of the Espino Valencia Preliminary Law Office. Aside from being an election lawyer, his legal expertise and advocacies cover land and marine transportation, telecommunications, local government, labor, and corporate law. Besides Lorenzo, Kathleen Daan was also appointed member of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan or Provincial Council in Cebu Province. The President also renewed the appointments of Philippine ambassadors Marie Charlotte Tang and Maria Elena Algabre. Tang was designated as non-resident ambassador to Ethiopia on top of her current post as ambassador to Kenya, with concurrent jurisdiction over Congo, Malawi, Seychelles, Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Comoros. President Marcos tapped Algabre as ambassador to Hungary with concurrent jurisdiction over Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Serbia. The appointees at the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA include Alan Deniega, Mary Ann Padua, and Ezedin Tago as ad interim chief of mission, Class 1. Gabriel Bautista as ad interim career minister, and Juan Paulo Alex, Jazil Abigail Cruz, Maria Rosana Josue, Leandro Luis Manantan, Jose Carlo Morales, Ajit Victor Panemanglor, Joel Peralta, and Adrian Miras as ad interim foreign service officer, Class 2. The chief executive also retained electrical engineer and University of the Philippines professor Joel Joseph Marciano Jr. as ad interim director general of the Philippine Space Agency or PSA. Likewise appointed were Joseph Omar Castillo as board member of the Manila Economic and Cultural Office or MECO. Mary Ann Seriosa as member of the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board in Calabarzon, representing the employers sector, and Cecilia D. as member of the Philippine Commission on Women, representing the National Council of Women of the Philippines. Now holding Director 4 post in various agencies are Hannah Camille Escueta, Clarice Ligunas Roque, Joviel Valenton Radok, and Sidney Zosa Jr. of the Department of Education or DepEd, and Dick Diolola and Laarni Paz of the Department of National Defense or DND. Elizer Salilig was appointed Director 5 at the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources or BIFAR, while Michael Oliver de Guzman and Gideon D. are Directors 3 at the DepEd.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. said China's illegal activities on the country's waters are forcing the Philippines to defend itself and assert its rights. The DND chief was referring to China's illegal activities in the West Philippine Sea, where Chinese maritime forces continue to swarm. This was the offshoot of the Chinese enactment of a maritime law that claimed almost all of the South China Sea or SCS waters as internal waters of China. Chodoro said China is also trying to crowd out the country by trying to change narratives, trying to subvert our domestic economy, trying to influence others not to side with the Philippines. He added it includes telling the world that the 2016 Arbitral Award is just a scrap of paper. The 2016 arbitral ruling is where the Permanent Court of Arbitration declared that the 9-dash line of China has no legal basis. Meanwhile, the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG said the country has been more assertive in its approach against aggressive Chinese acts in the West Philippine Sea or WPS. In a news forum in Quezon City, PCG spokesperson for the WPS, Commodore J. Tariela said, since day one of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s administration, the President has explicitly committed that this government will never surrender a square inch of our territory to any foreign power. Under the Marcos administration, Tariela said, the Philippines witnessed a deepening security alliance not only with the United States but with other countries like Australia and Japan as well as the European Union. The PCG had been relentless in challenging Chinese presence off the coast of Zambales, where Beijing deploys large vessels to illegally patrol the area. Earlier, PCG vessel BRP Cabra managed to push farther away China's newest CCG deployment in the area to about 100 nautical miles from Zambales' coastline.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippines can expect more foreign investments following its participation at the World Economic Forum or WEF Annual Meeting 2025 in Davos, Switzerland. House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez said, the results of the productive engagements of the Philippine delegation would create more jobs to propel economic growth. In a news release on Sunday, Romualdez said, the team is grateful to President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. for sending a delegation that showcased the many reasons why global investors should choose the Philippines. Romualdez lauded the Philippine delegation, composed of Finance Secretary Ralph Recto, Trade and Industry Trade Secretary Maria Cristina Roque, and business leaders from various sectors for their significant contributions to promoting the country's economic opportunities. Romualdez participated in high-level discussions and engaged with prominent global business leaders and officials, including his participation as a panelist in the stakeholder dialogue titled Navigating Asia's Hotspots, where he emphasized the country's balanced geopolitical approach and commitment to economic stability. The country's delegation also hosted the Philippine Breakfast Interaction, which convened close to 50 international public and private sector leaders for a briefing on the Philippine economy and its potential as the next big investment destination. During the discussions, the Philippine delegation showcased its robust domestic economy driven by e-commerce, making the country the fastest-growing digital economy in Southeast Asia in 2024. The Philippine delegation likewise highlighted legislative reforms under the Marcos administration as concrete manifestations of the readiness of the country to listen to investors' concerns. In particular, they cited the corporate recovery and tax incentives for enterprises to maximize opportunities for reinvigorating the economy or create more law, signed by President Marcos in November last year. The Create More law is meant to accelerate investment momentum by offering enhanced tax incentives, streamlining the investment approval process, simplifying value-added tax or VAT rules, and providing targeted incentives for strategic investments. Romualdez said the WEF once again placed the country on global investors' radar, giving opportunities to the Philippines, which is ready to turn them into concrete investments that will accelerate progress.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 9.475 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radio Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.